Hi everyone, welcome to week 5. The topic this week is discrit. I'm using a quote from Judith Heumann, who passed away recently, and this quote comes from her work Being Human. The quote is, "Right there was our catch-22 because the country was so inaccessible, disabled people had a hard time getting out and doing things, which made us invisible. So we were easy to discount and ignore until institutions were forced to accommodate us. We would remain locked out and invisible. And as long as we were locked out and invisible, no one would see our true force and would dismiss us." For week 5 on Canvas, the topic is discrit, which is a combination of disability studies and critical race theory. Subani Anama is an author whose work is included in the options for you to read this week. The other option is from Sarah Kangas, so you can select either article to write your reflection for week 5, reflection for week 5. The spatial justice assignment is due. I know people have sent drafts, and I have not been feeling well and have not been able to keep up with giving feedback before the submission deadline. So what I will do is allow submissions of the draft as you have it, and then if you have feedback that you want to address and or points that you want to recoup, you can look at that feedback after the submission deadline and make changes by the end of the semester. For week 5, we have no one signed up as a scholar lead for a discussion fora, so you will not need to post to the discussion forum for week 5. Instead, I'm offering a couple options if you want to learn more about critical disability studies. I would recommend the documentary that's linked and available here on YouTube from the work of Venus Evan Williams and colleagues, and the documentary is called Push Out. So that's one option that you could view that documentary, know that there's a trigger warning for physical aggression and violence right from the opening scene. Another option I would recommend is that you begin to brainstorm your topic for the draft of your problem statement. So to narrow your topic for the problem statement draft that you ultimately submit in this class, step 1 is for you to name broadly what you're interested in researching. For example, I'm interested in literacy and social justice, or disparities in school discipline. Step 2 is to apply question words like who, what, where, when, why, and how to identify or specify aspects of that topic. For literacy and social justice, for example, when I apply the question, who is my target population, I am interested in upper elementary emergent bilingual students with disability labels. In the area of disparities in school discipline, when I think about what aspects of school discipline am I interested in, I can come up with an answer. Use of timeout and physical restraint for students in early childhood programs. For step 3, determine the scope of your research by consulting the time frame, location, population, and discipline of your topic. Use the principles of significance and feasibility here. So you want to do something that addresses a gap in the literature and that is socially relevant, socially important, but that's feasible within a timeline. So the timeline, if you think of it, could be a full school year. It might be more practical to think of a given semester. And so if I were wanting to conduct some sort of intervention study, maybe I would think of like 10 to 12 weeks of data collection with one group of 5 to 7 students. Or maybe I would conduct focus group interviews with small groups of teachers at 3 different locations. Or I might deploy an electronic survey. And if I do an electronic survey, I would think about how there's generally about a 20% return rate on survey data. So I would want to have connections to reach at least 1,000 or more possible respondents to that survey to keep me in the realm of like what's feasible yet significant. In step 4, provide a detailed description of the subject matter and make a list of additional details. So a couple ways to take step 4 and put some pieces into action would be to conduct keyword searches using terms that relate to the topic you're interested in studying. If you conduct those keyword searches in roughly 3 to 5 databases like APA Psych Info, Academic Search Complete, ERIC, Google Scholar. Ideally, you would get about 20 possible returns of relevant studies that you could write an annotated bibliography for. In addition, it's helpful to go to primary data sources. Some examples could be school report card data, school climate survey data, work samples from the students or population that you're directly interested in including in your research. Step 5 is to condense the topic into a single sentence or statement that reflects your research question. So this single statement comes as a result of you having read widely on the topic and done the work to think through the who, what, where, when, why, apply the lens of relevance, significance, and really investigate what primary data sources show you. A couple examples here are teachers need guidance on how best to support upper elementary emergent bilingual students in using self-monitoring strategies to promote comprehension of informational text written in English. Another example related to disparities in school discipline, school-wide systems of positive behavior interventions and support often reify hegemonic norms and uphold traits of white supremacy. Therefore, training in cultural responsivity is needed to ensure that special education teachers recognize behavior as communication. So these single statements came from that process of trying to narrow down the broad topic to a more narrow topic. For next week, read the opposite article that you read in week 3. For example, if you read Latz and Billings and Tate on critical race theory in week 3, then read Latz and Billings remix on cultural relevant pedagogy 2.0 for week 5. Vice versa, if you read culturally relevant pedagogy 2.0, then go back and read Latz and Billings and Tate on critical race theory. There is not a written reflection to turn in because I had made the mistake of linking the wrong file in week 3. I excused you from turning in a written reflection for week 5.